company such as Intel, if you put all the fabs together, they generate several petabytes of data.
Now, how do you find that what metrics should I curate on and what are the void ones?
So I'm not here to challenge you, but I'm here to kind of value add to your instinct.
How does data play an important role in developing of a startup? Because we got that okay, data is important, that data is critical. Then how do you actually find that data? And there are also many metrics which we can count on, right? Then how do you find that what metrics should I curate on and what are the void ones?
Okay, so data has to have some headers, data labels. Data has to if there's no label, find out those labels. So this is not I'll tell you, I have worked in fab data. You know what fab is? A fab is where a factory where semiconductor chips are manufactured. Now, a company such as Intel, if you put all the fabs together, they generate several petabytes of data, which is enormous, humongous. This is the mother of all big data, so-called big data. So big data typically means data that is spawned in and around the enterprise, inside the enterprise, outside the enterprise, through social media, through this and that. But that's just needle of the hair. That's not even, to me, that's good data. But when you manage 16 petabytes of data, that's huge. And these data typically doesn't have labels, but so you have to work hard to assign labels as to which equipment they come from, at what stage in the process are they generated, and things like that. So you have to so data labeling is an essential part of data curation. So if you don't have data labels, then you have to generate those labels. You have to work towards that. So it's typically very simple in POS, point of sale data. You go to a retail store, you buy something, a bill is generated, the record is kept. And if it's an advanced retail store where you are a repeat customer, they'll ask you for a mobile number, okay? Because they know this. So this person always shops with us. He has a loyalty card. He may not have a loyalty card, but they'll have one primary key about you as a customer. So unknowns to you, if the retailer is a solid retailer, someone somewhere is analyzing that data for associations. Okay? So in data analytics class, there's an example of what you call milk and bread, and beer, milk, bread, and beer. So they make good associations. You know what? People who buy bread and milk, or they also kind of veer towards the aisles where beer is kept, 6-pack beer. Okay, so there's an association. Okay, so how do companies exploit this? They'll keep milk and bread around basically close by aisles, but they'll keep beer or alcohol further down. So while traversing through these aisles, a customer may pick up something else. So what are they doing? They're exploiting the association between milk and bread and beer. Okay, so while this may sound ludicrous to you, but there's a strong association. So someone somewhere, if let's say you go to basically name any retailer any retailer that you know.
Yes.
A banner retail.
Okay, banner.
Walmart. So Walmart is meticulously analyzing this data. Okay. So if are you a customer who doesn't have a loyalty, or a customer are you a first timer, are you a second timer, and if you buy, can I do something? Can I give you an offering which you won't be able to receive, which you won't be able to refuse? So sometimes when you go to these stores, you will see some oddball combinations. Okay. 2 kg of dal, and with that you're getting a packet of agarbattis. Yeah. You've seen these combinations? Yeah. What's happening there? What's happening behind? What's the story behind this? Story is that there are associations, but the associations, on one hand we have basically high volume, high velocity product. I can lump it with a low velocity and high margin product. Okay, agarbattis possibly will have high margins but low velocity. If I lump these together, I make a promo pack. So promo pack gets sold. So this is the result of meticulous data analysis, then modeling on the data using maybe association rules. There's a study within analytics known as market basket analysis. What does a market basket comprise of, right? So this is on the retail side. Now take it to, say, online buying of, let's say, an HP laptop or a Lenovo laptop or Apple for that matter. So you may buy, you get assigned a buyer ID, You buy a laptop, and then you buy accessories with it, right? If you're buying an Apple phone like this, and you'll have to buy accessories, they won't give you that charger point, plug point. Okay, so that's one way to hook you to Apple. That's one way to hook you to HP or any brand for that matter. Now, in this case, the baskets typically are not instant. The baskets could be up to 30 days, because typically it's a 30 days, within 30 days of buying of the main product, that I buy accessories, right? So basket is open, ID is there, so we know what he'll buy, and if the next time this guy comes in, I'll have an offering which is tailor made to him, thanks to cookie pool mining. Okay, so, and there's a lot of analytics that has been done on the on the post login scenario. Let's say when you're going on you have Amazon.com, you log in, that's the amount of products you browse through, you'll see that for every product there is a recommendation. Customers who bought this also bought this, right? It's more pronounced for books, right? So there's so many things you can do with data, but you have to have an interest or passion about it. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah. So we know that data is actually crucial, and we can boost ourselves from that. In India, we are seeing a startup boom right now. So how does data play an important role in developing of a startup? Because I personally see that if we have really high quality data, we can also use it to develop our sales, or else actually develop our product, right? The feedback loop, which is startup's experience. How is data important for that, and also how to mine that data for a startup where maybe that category doesn't exist, it's a new product, there's no pre-made data. How do you actually make a data as a startup?
Okay, so you may not initially say your depends on what your startup idea is actually. So most ideas in India today veer around aggregation, right? Whether it's taxi, whether it's ticketing, air ticket, bus tickets, you name it. You have successes like cleartrip.com, make my trip, etc., etc. It may not begin with a data, basically begin on a note of data, but over time, business becomes so huge that you have to kind of nurture this data, curate this data, and make it ready for analysis. For instance, if let's take a case of an airfare aggregator. You see that there are more number of demands coming from a particular sector at a particular time. So chances are, I'll try to have more deals for customers to make them buy from me, and not go to make my trip. So there, you have to kind of while you have eyeballs, but eyeballs have to be converted into basically a customer. So typically, a make my trip customer, and this is my assumption, will not jump ship and go to somebody else typically. Okay, and make my trip has also made forays in the corporate B2B parlance. Okay, whereas I think Cleartrip is mostly confined to B2C. They didn't take that leap of faith, and sometimes you find the deals will differ. They have 15% off on this and that. So they offer to kind of these are the things they offer only on the basis of basis of the sectoral data. Sector is, let's say I'm flying from Nagpur to Bangalore is one sector. So if there are more number of people that fly in this, and they book their tickets from Cleartrip, that and the travel typically peaks up during this time. So there's a likelihood that I can sell more, entice more customers before time, and make them buy from me. Okay, so and I know that a customer is also willing to jump ships, though not often. He's also looking at Ease My Trip. He's also looking at this trip, some other portal. Now today you have skyscanner.com. You also have basically hacks in Google that but hacks in Google that tell you how to get a cheap ticket, right? By keeping the origin as constant, and and sifting through destinations. So this data is being getting curated, and see, you can buy, you have the option to either buy a ticket and just get out, or you have a login. You make your presence felt, so that next time you may to entice you to make the next trip, they'll have a deal on it, the deal that comes on SMS or on mail to you, right? Because they've seen a pattern. So this is see, it's good to have eyeballs, but the eyeballs have to stick. Okay, so, and that only happens on a bedrock of solid data and data analysis. So a startup may not begin on a note of basically data and data curation. Some startups like mine, of course, for us data is our lifeblood, but some will have base, but business, as the business grows, the data also grows. And this, you have to curate this data, you have to extract intelligence out of this data and make it amenable to growing your business. That's the whole truth.
All right. Then, there's a debate on this that, okay, in a startup, when you have to make some decisions, right, you have to choose path A or path B. Now, should the path which I choose be based on the data, or sometimes it should be based on the instinct which I feel that, okay, a small thing like, should I develop this feature? Now, maybe the data doesn't support, but my instinct says that no, people might try it. So, what are the rivalries between the both instinct-based decisions and data-driven decisions?
Instincts are honed over a period, right? I mean, instincts always help, right? I mean, but the instincts have to be built and developed and honed over a period of time. Basically, wisdom, commonsensical knowledge tells me that if I do something at some time, I'll reap dividends. But what if I tell you that, you combine your instinct with what the data tells you, you can reap a bigger dividend. Okay, so I'm not here to challenge you, but I'm here to kind of value add to your instinct. And what happens in the process? Your instinct gets honed even further, right? So an instinct is better off with data, with more analysis of data. Okay, instincts are good to have, but if you hone this with with data analysis, situational intelligence, which is born out of data, then then you are unbeatable. As simple as that.
Yeah. So then, what are some tools which are used to curate the data, or to be precise, collect the data, process it? Can you name some?
Okay, data collection happens from multiple sources, right? So in a very cruder sense, so when you shop in this markets, you will see all these guys, intercepting you, asking your opinion on something. That is also data collection. That's old-fashioned way of collecting data. Surveys. So 90% of American population has been through surveys. They know surveys. So for in India, it's still I would say, a new thing. You're getting online surveys after you shop. You're giving, this American Express. Every time I talk to a call center agent, they administer us a survey asking them to rate them on scale of 1 to 10. So this is one way of collecting data. Then data can also come from these weather sensors, like your phone is collecting data unknowns to you and also relaying it. Okay, so and also the visual cues that come from camera sensors. All of that data is structured, data is unstructured, and every day the content that you create on social media, data that you content that is gets created after from usages which kind of amount to several million each day. All these are data sources, but you have to have the wherewithal and infrastructure to kind of study this data to derive value out of it. That's the truth.
All right. So now we'll go about two tangents now, right? The first thing I would like to ask is that, okay, you started ThoughtCentric to actually analyze the data. Then what are the solutions which you provide, right? And how did you come up to the conclusion that maybe this product which you are developing is needed?
Okay, you're talking about our own instinct.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like this. See, a very good question. So some problems that came to us as problem statements or POC, which we tried to do a proof of concept around, they became so big over time that we had no choice but to make an offering out of it, a dedicated offering out of it. So it came from a actual business use case. Okay, so on our own we can offer a lot of things, but what is important is what the customer wants for enhancing his own business. Okay, like my demand forecasting and sensing, it came from a real life business use case that I solved for a big company. Then it became, there were myriad kinds of data coming from different sources. Now that was huge. It required the infrastructure to manage the data, curate the data, and also do feature engineering on that data. That's how the platform thinking came about. Data ingestion from this sources, data aggregation, data Feature engineering, making this what you call making mathematical entities out of that data. Typically, if there are the n columns of data, the number of features you can generate from that data is from that column is n from this data is nc3. Okay, so plus these features have to pass muster by way of basically common logic as well as business logic. Okay, let's say I have temperature and pressure. Temperature has a high correlation to the dependent variable, which is demand. Pressure also has a high, basically has a good correlation with, let's say, demand. Now, if I see that if I do T plus P, temperature or pressure, this also has a good even higher correlation. Does that make logical sense? No, it does not. You cannot add temperature and pressure. Mathematically, you may arrive at something. It doesn't. There's no logic behind it. So these are a few things that you need to be mindful of when you go about curating data. And there are a lot more. As you also see, as a data scientist's job doesn't begin and end with hacking, getting data, hacking model and giving the results. No, you also have to study. There are a whole lot of people involved in the study: the project manager, the domain analyst, the domain consultant, data scientist, platform engineer, cloud engineer, all these guys, then full stack engineers, and all the way to usability engineers. Okay, so there's a madness behind this process, and to make what you extract from data amenable to consumption, there's a whole process going on. This process could be in the form of platform. This could be a human process. This could be anything. Okay, so yes, that's a pain you take, and only this pain combined with the passion you have about this discipline is what makes your day. It makes offerings go robust or go fut. One day you would find that your product has has no usage, has very scant usage. Someone somewhere has perfected the art. He's added lump 2 or 5 or 6 offerings with it, but you are still stuck there. So these are the reality checks you need to keep doing from time to time, and then decide what to do. Should I cannibalize the product? Should I use this part? The knowledge that came from it, can I use it somewhere else? Should I add to the project? But that would require for more investments. Am I ready to do that? Am I not? These are the difficult decisions that one has to take, and keeping in mind moolah and time to market. Okay.
All right. So your entrepreneurial journey has been 8 years long, right?
Yes, around that much. Yeah.
So how was it when you started off? That what are the what was that time like? Because you shifted from a corporate culture to the startup culture.
Well, the company itself is 8 years, but my journey began 6 years ago. So I would say big shift. The things that you take for granted when you work with a corporate such as IBM or an Accenture, it's very difficult to get rid of those trappings, and things are taken care of, right? Most things are taken care of. Out here, you are in a startup. Everything is, nothing is secure. I have to fight for the customer. I have to fight for my people. I have to fight for that money. The constraints from all quarters. You have to juggle these constraints, which I don't think you do a lot in a big corporate. So you learn things about yourself you didn't know earlier, the strengths that you have that you thought you didn't have while you were working with a corporate, and all this. And you find that you are where there's a will, there's a way, and sometimes you have to come out of an off-beaten path and take a new path. That requires a tremendous leap of faith, courage, and conviction, and also buy-in from team members, buy-in from people you work with. So these are the things that every startup goes through, whether you like it or not.
So recently, I was watching this podcast of Nikhil Kamath, right? And Gaurav Munjal was there, the co-founder of Unacademy. So he said that Unacademy pivoted about 10 times before they actually cracked their business model in 2019, right? And after that, till 2022, in 3 years, they just did that 10 million ARR. Right? So it's really important for startups to actually pivot, because sometimes the leap of faith which they took is different from the reality. How do you figure out that when should you pivot, and how do you find that product market fit?
One has to keep abreast of what's going on in the market, right? You need to read up. There's no alternative to reading up. For me, someone like me, at this stage also, I keep myself abreast. I have a subscription of MIT Tech Review. I read, I mean, I comport my knowledge from several sources, my own reading, I have a me time wherein I, augment my knowledge. And this, I mean, you have to keep doing it, keep trying new things, and keep taking these miniature leaps of faith. I'm not saying that jump from a building this high. I mean, भगवान का नाम लेके यहाँ से कूद गए, कोई तो मेरे को बचा लेगा, नहीं. These are, informed leaps of faith. A hunch that may work. If it doesn't, I need to be able to course correct. And my intelligence lies in the fact that I course correct, not that I stuck. I mean, मेरा idea इससे मैं कुछ निचोड़ निकाल के रहूँगा. जब निचोड़ नहीं निकल रहा है तो आपको अपनी दिशा बदलनी होगी आपको. So intelligence वहाँ से आती है, situational intelligence. ठीक है, keep abreast and and connect with customers or the user class is very important. वो क्या सोच रहे हैं, आपने XYZ सोचा, बट वो सोच रहे हैं XYZ तो ऑलरेडी मेरे पास है, आप मेरे को क्या इसमें डेल्टा क्या दे रहे हो. देन डेल्टा इज ओमेगा बीटा, जो भी है डेल्टा, आप उस पर वो करो. कोर ऑफरिंग ये है. कितने बार ये डिपार्चर्स लेने पड़ते हैं अपने को. वी हैव टू टेक डिपार्चर्स फ्रॉम अ बीटन ट्रैक.
Alright.
Therein lies
Our intelligence. Intelligence is a function of how nimble footed you are, and how kind of how you close to the ground your ears are. ठीक है. Can you feel the pulse out there? Can you feel the customer's pulse? Can you feel the market pulse? If not, develop those instincts. It comes from practice. It doesn't come from being in ivory towers. All right. You have to dirty your hands. You have to challenge yourself. Anytime, every time.
So do you feel that in a startup space, right, because you worked in corporates, right, many corporates before, you had a upper hand, and because, or should there a newbie founder can also develop things, like what's your way? Should there be a Workex, or
Workex always helps, because there are things that possibly you should be doing, but but for let's say a grad, a person who drops out, all he has is passion, okay, and that passion may come to fruition, it may not, but good thing is he tried. Some of the best companies have been floated by college dropouts. Microsoft, Facebook, Dell. Michael Dell was a business visionary way ahead of his time. Who would have thought of online PC retailing? It was Michael Dell who started it, right? And he dropped college. He was at Texas, I think he was in some university at Texas, and he dropped off. He started assembling, from his college dorm, he was assembling PCs and selling those, made to order PCs. That was his genius. So for them, it's about that sheer passion, and passion. For them, passion came to fruition. But there are a whole lot of other people for whom their passion doesn't culminate into anything. होता है.
you should not be feared of the failure, right? You should be always, where there's a will, there's a way.
Fear of failure is a very ontological question. I'll not get into that. So if you don't have fear, then you're not human. But ये नहीं कि हमेशा डरते रहो आप. डर मतलब डर के आगे जीत है. आप ये मान के चलो आगे, लेकिन in the process you should also learn, unlearn, be ready to do things in a newer way, in a different way, and things like that. Be flexible. Yes, okay.